very disappointing. Yesterday, Joe Manchin's bill on voting rights came up for the Senate. He said, oh, don't worry, this is bipartisan. It's not going to be like H.R. 1 that federalizes elections. I'll get support. Not a single Republican, not only not voted for it, but wouldn't even allow debate. And this gets back to what I've been talking about, where 15 years ago, George Bush was celebrating the 98-0 vote in the Senate for voting rights. And now there's not a single senator who's even, if you don't like the bill, that's fine. Let's have a debate about it. But they won't even debate about it. That doesn't concern you at all as a Trump supporting Republican?
Well, I think that the climate being what it is, as far as, if you look at the bill, it's basically H.R. 1 light. So it still has a lot of the most troublesome elements. And the fact that Joe Manchin signed off on it, I think the fact that Joe Manchin brought it forward was probably his way of trying to quiet his critics. So I even reject sort of the notion that the word reform. I thought that that's interesting because to me, the word reform is, it's a positive word, and so anything that would give more power to the federal government and away from the states, in my view, is a dereliction of duty as it relates to the Constitution and federalism.
But what are the troublesome elements, though, that you mentioned?
Well, yeah, they want to federalize elections, basically, and they want to erode they want to put more roadblocks between the chain of custody and the voters themselves, and that's a problem. So, and you can spin it however you want, but that's ultimately what it's going to do. It's going to reduce accountability, and it's going to reduce the chain of custody and break it down. That's what both H.R. 1 and this Manchin bill would do in a nutshell. And so I think what the better way to do it is, rather than having a vote, why not hash out the legislation together, bipartisan? Because they did that with the infrastructure bill, and then they had the vote. They had the vote first instead of having the negotiations. So I think that was a strategic failure on their part.
But if you don't like the bill, then you can vote it down, but open it up for debate. I don't think anyone, even a lot of Republicans, would say that these bills that were being passed, the 2020 election was the safest, most secure election we'd had. Were there irregularities? Yes, but not nearly anything close to affecting the outcome. So these laws that are being passed in places like Texas and particularly Georgia are not passed to let more people vote. They're passed because I have never seen a party that's more terrified of its own voters than today's Republican Party. And so a lot of these laws will allow legislatures to overturn what the county boards do. And that's what makes our elections so secure, is that you have these 17,000 independent election boards that can't be hacked. But if you're allowing states to overturn them, that's the threat to our democracy. So let's have a debate about it. But I don't think there's, why not have more people vote? That's the whole thing, and that's what this is about. This is to make sure that the Voting Rights Act that was passed in 2005, and even the one after the Supreme Court made it less effective in 2000 when they upheld Obamacare, is to allow more people to vote. And these bills have been so draconian, and they're not. The only cause is to make it harder for people to vote. Why make it harder for people to vote if there's not a security issue?
I think the Democrats wanted to permanently put in place what should have been one-time pandemic exceptions to the rule. Because yes, we want to make it harder to
but if there's no fraud and it helps people to vote, what does it matter? You want more people to vote. If there's no fraud, that's great. It helps more people. No,
but again,
especially lower income people to vote. What's wrong with that?
Anytime you break down the chain of custody, that it has more opportunities to cheat. That's the issue.
But there's no cheating. There's no evidence of it. When it happens, then you can make those adjustments. But until then, it's allowing more people to vote. That's what America's about. This fraud is a red herring. It doesn't exist.
Dave, I also reject your rejection of state legislatures having accountability over the election oversight boards, because that's what the Constitution expressly says. It's the legislature's jobs, not these local boards. It's in the Constitution. So, Dave, you're going to have to get a constitutional amendment if you want to change that.
No. Well, all right. Well, we will, as always, pleasantly agree to disagree on that one. always such a great conversation. It's so much fun. This has been another episode of Practically Political. I'm Dave Spencer. Please join us again. Follow us on social media.
Take care. We'll see you next time.